Hello, welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. My name is Jason, speaking to you here in my basement in the great state of Kansas. Today I'm doing a video ranking the best picture winners of the decade of the 1950s. A little while ago I covered my top 20 favorite movies of the 1950s. I've been doing top 20 favorite movies per decade, starting with the 2010s all the way down to 1950s right now. And after I do that, I like to then talk about the best picture winners of that decade and ranking them and how much I like them. Anyways, as somebody who watches a lot of best picture winners, I've seen all the best picture winners except for Coda, the current one I haven't seen yet. But I watch a lot of best picture type movies that get Oscar nominations. Um, so I'm well kind of versed in a lot of these movies and seen them at least once. Anyways, some more as you'll see. 1950s, I would say, yeah, not a great decade, except for, top one is one of my favorite all time movies. Uh, Top two really are movies I would watch over again. Most of the other ones I've only watched maybe once and never really care to watch again. I would say so. Not a real strong decade for Best Picture winners. I would say for the 1950s. We get some good epic movies in there, and then we get some more smaller movies I don't care for. Anyway, starting with number 10 on my list, my least favorite of that decade is From Here to Eternity, which won Best Picture in 1953. Fairly well known movie. Stars Montgomery Clift, Burt Lancaster, pretty good cast. Deborah Carr, Donna Reed, who's well known for It's a Wonderful Life and Donna Reed Show. Frank Sinatra, given one of his early acting performances, and Ernest Borgnine, another really early performance from his. The first time I've seen Ernest Borgnine in a movie, really, playing kind of a small part. This is a movie that's set during World War II, set right around Pearl Harbor. Actually, set right before we kind of get involved in World War II with Pearl Harbor, I believe. It's kind of where this movie ends. And we see some soldiers in Hawaii. Montgomery Clift and Frank Sinatra are friends. We kind of see their story, and then Burt Lancaster's another officer, and we see his story. Kind of two different stories, not real closely connected. But we get Burt Lancaster, who's an officer who's having an affair with another officer's wife, played by Deborah Carr, and we get the famous kissing in the ocean scene where on the beach where they're laying down on the beach making out and the waves are hitting them, very famous scene. And then we get Montgomery Clift, who's like kind of the main performer here. He's an officer who used to be a boxer, and his superior officer or whatever wants him to compete in a boxing competition, but he doesn't want to, or he refuses to. And so then his superior officer is kind of giving him a hard time because of it. He goes to there's this brothel or whatever, and he meets Donna Reed's character, who's like a prostitute, but because it's the 1950s, we can't really say prostitute. They might call her a call girl or something like that, but they don't really refer to it as like a prostitution, them having sex or anything, or this is a place where you go have sex with girls. You can't say that because it's 1950s, and that's against the rules that they have for movies at that time. A little too risque. Based off a book I've heard is more risque about all that, and definitely talks about him being a prostitute. Anyways, he falls in love with this prostitute Donna Reed, Donna Reed wins an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress for this role. Kind of different than her more, her It's a Wonderful Life role, where she's a little more of a good girl type role, and in other roles, I think. So a little against type for Donna Reed in that. Frank Sinatra, he's kind of a troublemaker, and he has this whole thing with Ernest Borgnine's character where they get into a fight and all that. Anyways, and Frank Sinatra wins the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. Kind of surprising, of course, known more for singing than acting, though he did a lot of acting at this time. I didn't think it was that great a performance, but he was very popular at this time, so he wins the Oscar there. I don't care for this. I don't get this movie at all. It's, like I said, Best Picture winner. A fairly well-known movie. I don't know. I just didn't care for any of the romances, and kind of a boring movie. And it ends very non-happy. It has a very unhappy ending to it, very unsatisfactory ending to it that really ruins the whole movie for me. Anyways, and I just didn't care for any of the characters. Weren't really that likable and enjoyable to me. Anyway, so I'd never care for anything about From Here to Eternity. Didn't think it was this great romance movie like it's kind of portrayed. Anyways, a little darker movie to me. That's number 10. Number 9 is a movie that's usually like pretty much, it's on a lot of lists of like one of the best movies ever. It's a movie I don't get. It's called All About Eve. Best Picture winner in 1950. Like I said, it's on AFI's top 100 favorite movies list. And I've heard a lot of people put this up pretty high on their list. They love this movie. It stars Bette Davis, Ann Baxter, George Sanders, and Celeste Holm. There's also young Marilyn Monroe. One of the first movies I think she appears in, kind of a small part here. We get to see her. And it's this movie where Bette Davis is like this aging actress, which she was in real life too. But she's kind of playing almost, seems like herself, and this kind of aging actress who is a real jerk. And Ann Baxter is like this up-and-coming actress who is a fan of Bette Davis's Eve character, and kind of obsessed with her, and kind of becomes like a, I don't know what to say, assistant to Bette Davis's character, I believe. And throughout the movie, Ann Baxter starts getting more ambitious, starts getting more roles that Bette Davis would get. And we kind of see the tides turn where Ann Baxter is all of a sudden on top and Bette Davis is not. Anyways, and Bette Davis, of course, is very jealous of Ann Baxter's character and really trying to ruin her career. Doesn't want to give up the top spot as an actress and all this for a younger actress and all that, which is probably really true what happens in Hollywood. Anyway, so a lot of bitterness there, a lot of fighting between them. We get the famous Bette Davis line of, I'm forgetting exactly, but something about it's going to be a bumpy ride. Anyways, no, it's saying that there's going to be a lot of fighting going on. Anyways, I don't know, I never cared about the whole storyline. Never been a big fan of Bette Davis. She was a huge actress, multiple Oscar winner. Never seen a Bette Davis movie that I thought, yeah, I really love Bette Davis. I don't know. Never been a huge fan. And I don't know, this movie just had nothing for me plot-wise. I didn't care about all this about the acting and, you know, all the bitterness and fighting in between, trying to keep on top, you know. I don't know. It was just a boring movie to me. It's just a long, boring movie, and I don't get all the hype of it. So number 9 is All About Eve. Number 8 is An American in Paris from Best Picture 1951. Stars Gene Kelly and Leslie Caron, I believe her name is. It's a movie you probably never heard of. Of all these movies, it's one of them. It's really one of the lesser known movies that won Best Picture. American in Paris. And Gene Kelly plays an American who's in Paris, and he falls in love with a French woman played by Leslie Caron. First movie I believe she appears in. Directed by Vincent Minnelli, I believe. And Gene Kelly, I really like Gene Kelly as far as, like, you know, the great dancers. You know, there's Fred Astaire, there's Gene Kelly. I prefer Gene Kelly over Fred Astaire personally. I like his movies. A lot of his movies where he does a lot of musicals where he does a lot of dancing. He's a great dancer, very enjoyable watching him. So I like him in this movie. He's very good. He's a very likable guy, charismatic. I think Gene Kelly's a very good actor. You know, he can sing, and he's just an amazing dancer. And there's some good dance numbers in here that I enjoy, and all that. The biggest problem is at the very end of the movie, there's like this big, like 20-minute dance sequence that ends the movie, and it's all silent. It's just a silent dance, and it's not even like happening in reality. I think it's all happening maybe in his mind or something. I can't remember. Something like that. It's like a fantasy dance sequence. Ends the movie, and it's very weird. Kind of comes out of nowhere. Doesn't really make sense in the movie. Anyways, it's very boring, I think. And so it's just kind of unsatisfactory ending to it. Though I do like Gene Kelly in the movie. That's number 8. Number 7 is maybe the biggest low-budget movie of this decade, and one of the biggest low-budget movies maybe ever winning Best Picture, and that's Marty. Wins Best Picture in 1955. doesn't really have any big actors in it except for Ernest Borgnine, who I don't think was really even a big actor at that time. He was kind of a little known actor. Like I said, he was From Here to Eternity was one of the first movies I saw him in. He played a small part in that. Here he's the lead character playing the character Marty. And it's a very, most Best Pictures are kind of epic. This is like the least epic movie ever. It's just a romantic, not even comedy. It's just a kind of a romantic drama of a movie. Nothing real special about it, to be honest. And like I said, nobody real big in it except Ernest Borgnine. And it's just about this guy who's who's kind of middle-aged, and he's overweight, and he lives with his mother, and his mother's trying to get him to go out and find a girl and get married. And of course he's had a lot of not very good luck with women. Women don't like him. He doesn't exactly have that, winning personality or, the looks and all that to attract women. And so he's kind of depressed because of that. But then he goes out to a party and he meets this girl who's also kind of not bad looking, but she's not like considered like a great beauty. But yet he starts talking to her, and then they kind of fall in love and all this. Anyways, and so it's just kind of a simple romantic movie of these two people that aren't the most attractive people that they'll find happiness in each other, So it's nice, it's a nice story, I guess, but nothing huge, not a really great, romantic ending to it or anything. Just kind of a know-nothing movie compared to what you mostly see. And I think I believe it's like the shortest movie to win Best Picture. It's like an hour and a half maybe at most. Anyway, so very unlikely Best Picture winner, though, is Marty at 7. Though I do like Ernest Borgnine. He's a very good actor in it. Wins Best Actor for the movie. Number 6, I have Around the World in 80 Days. Best Picture in 1956. Starring David Niven as the main character. Of course, this is a famous story. It's been done many times, movie-wise. Famous book, and like I said, made so many different movies of this guy who makes a bet that he can travel the world in 80 days. Of course, during a time before we had, air travel like we have today. So I think he has to use a balloon, a hot air balloon, and boat and stuff like that to travel to different countries. And of course, these other rich people are trying to stop him from doing it, because then he wins a lot of money if he's able to do it. And he's a bit of a eccentric scientist kind of guy who, invents things, and great. It's a decent story. David Niven's great. I like David Niven. He's great as the lead. I do like the fact the movie travels to different countries, and we get to see different countries and different cultures. That's the kind of enjoyable part of the movie. He also has an assistant that helps him out. Who's like I think he's like a comedian from Mexico or something like that plays the part. And then we get young Shirley Maclaine. First time I seen her in a movie. She's very young in this. That he meets along the way, and there's a lot of cameos of famous actors also that appear in here. It's a long movie. It's a really long movie. That's probably to his detriment. And there's some parts that take a long time. Like my memory is that they go to Spain and he sees a bull fight, a matador and a bull, and that takes a long time. It's like just takes way too long, and so it's a bit of a slow-paced movie, and so I don't think it's very liked. Really doesn't get really good critical reviews today because of that, and it's kind of seen as this overblown movie that probably shouldn't have won Best Picture. But anyway, so it's not a favorite of mine at all because of the length and all that. And there's some really good movies that came out that year that should have won. But number 6, I got Around the World in 80 Days. Number 5, this is one of the biggest movies of the decade. I don't have it as high as probably most people, and that's On the Waterfront. Marlon Brando's like kind of first really big movie that really, he's already kind of becoming a big actor at this time, but this really made him one of the best actors of the decade. Marlon Brando. This came out in 1954. We got Carl Malden, Lee J. Cobb, Rod Steiger, Eva Marie Saint. So a pretty good cast there. Marlon Brando's been nominated for Best Actor a couple times up to this point. And he's kind of known as like one of the first great method actors. He almost kind of changed the game as far as acting goes, where he really was the character, and really lived it all the time. Now it seems like everybody's a method actor today, but that was somewhat, I think, a new concept in the 1950s, and really acting kind of changed at that point because of Marlon Brando, and the whole method acting kind of took on. Everybody kind of believed in you have to be a method actor, uh, kind of thing. Anyways, I don't know. I'm not huge on this movie. It deals with Marlon Brando's a dock worker, and his brother, played by Rod Steiger, is kind of high up in the union. And the union boss, played by Lee J. Cobb, who plays a great bad guy, is doing some corrupt things, and there's even murder involved. And so Marlon Brando's character is like, does he turn his back on the murder, or does he help out the victim? Which way does he go? Because if he goes against the union, then that hurts him as far as job wise and all this, and his standing in the union. Anyway, so it's fighting union corruptness, and Carl Malden's in it. Carl Malden's great as this like priest who's speaking out against the union. Anyways, I don't know, just never been totally crazy about the whole plot of it. And Marlon Brando's a good actor, really great actor, decent performance by him and a lot of the actors here, but I don't know, never really reached me plot wise or on emotional moment. And the whole finale doesn't really hit me emotionally like I think it's supposed to. I don't know. I've never been totally crazy about this movie, though. It's definitely one of the best, or one of the most famous movies of this decade. Has a famous line, maybe the most famous line, I could have been a contender, which I'm not doing the accent, but I could have been somebody instead of a bum. That great line in there. But besides that, not a lot of memorable stuff to me about that movie On the Waterfront. Now, four would be a real big surprise. This movie you probably never heard of. It's usually probably at the end of everybody's list, but I actually kind of enjoyed it. It's called Gigi. You heard it, Gigi, not Gigli, Gigi. Like Gigi, what's that? Well, it's a French musical, or takes place in France. Won Best Picture in 1958. Like I said, probably never heard of it. Total surprise it won Best Picture. It doesn't seem like your normal Best Picture. Again, directed by Vincent Minnelli, who I already mentioned in American Paris. Did these French, he's French, you say Minnelli. Famous for marrying Judy Garland, and the father of Liza Minnelli, obviously, who goes on to be a big-time actress and in a lot of musicals and so forth. So big on musicals, and I like musicals. That's why I have this probably higher than most people. But it stars Leslie Caron, who also was an American in Paris. We get Maurice Chevrolet, really cool French actor. He has a great French accent, one of the best French accents ever in movies. And I've seen him a couple things, and love his accent. Luce Jordan and Eva Gabor, early movie for her, playing a small part. But it's not a very unique story. It's a lot like My Fair Lady in some senses. But it's this romance. There's a girl played Leslie Caron, who's more of a tomboy, and I think her mom or grandmother is trying to raise her to be more like a lady and wear dresses, and she's not really a dress wearer, but she's not ugly or anything, but it's that whole thing where we're going to try to classy her up, so that she can marry rich, and all this is kind of the idea. And then there's this guy, Luce Jordan, who's this rich playboy who's kind of tired of the rich lifestyle and all the women and wants someone more down to earth. So as you can see, he's kind of friends at the beginning with Leslie Caron's character, and then the movie turns into them having more of a romance, until of course obviously they'll get together at the end. But so it's a movie that you've seen before, but some decent musical numbers in there, great costuming, love the French scenery and all that. Anyway, so I think it's an okay movie. I haven't seen it in a while, so if I see it again, maybe I'll say differently. But I thought it was not a bad movie for a movie you never heard of. Anyway, so that's why I got Gigi at number 4. Number 3, I got kind of a war epic, the bridge over the River Kwai, if I'm pronouncing that right. Best Picture in 1957, starring Alec Guinness, as we know as Obi-Wan Kenobi. Wins Best Actor for this movie, playing a British officer. We got Willem Holden, who's one of the best actors of this decade, and Jack Hawkins also in here. This is a movie that takes place British soldiers get captured by the Japanese, and the Japanese are forcing them to build this bridge. And Alec Guinness is kind of like the superior officer, and he decides to design, instead of kind of revolting against the Japanese, he decides that the best thing for the morale of his soldiers, I guess, is to build this bridge as best as he can. And he thinks by putting the British soldiers to work, it'll keep them from, I don't know, bad morale, being depressed, the fact that they are, POWs, and puts their mind in their, keeps them busy, so they're not just sitting around not doing anything, I guess. And I don't know, he feels it kind of helpful for them. So he kind of helps the Japanese, who's the enemy, uh, design and build this bridge, anyways. And the whole movie kind of takes place with that. William Holden is a soldier who actually escapes captivity. He's an American soldier who then they want him to go back and blow up this bridge that these British officers are making for the Japanese. And so he's going back to kind of what do you call it, like a secret mission, undercover, try to sneak in and blow up this bridge, anyways. And so he doesn't really want to, but he decides to go along with this mission. Anyways, that's kind of what takes place. And we get one of the great endings of a movie, I think, ever, where he has to go blow up this bridge. And Alec Guinness tries to stop him, but then realizes, wait a minute, I'm helping out, the enemy. What am I doing? Anyway, so it's this great ending to the movie. Anyways, nice epic World War II movie with really good performances there by Alec Guinness and William Holden and all that. So yeah, definitely a movie to check out. The Bridge Over the River Kwai. Number 3 on my list. Number 2 on my list is a movie that's not another movie that's people don't like as much. I really like this movie, called The Greatest Show on Earth from 1952, directed by the great Cecil B. DeMille, who also ends up directing The Ten Commandments, another great epic movie. He does a lot of these epics of this time period, which I like. It's first movie for Charlton Heston, kind of gets in and does a great job at the lead. We get Jimmy Stewart, one of my favorite actors, who plays a clown in it. They're in a circus. The whole movie takes place at like a circus, traveling circus. We get Betty Hutton, Dorothy Lamour, Gloria Graham, or some well-known actresses in this movie. And I love the whole circus atmosphere and the different acts and so forth. And there's a bit of a romance, like triangle romance thing going on. Which isn't the best thing about the movie, but overall, I love the performances. Like I said, I love Charlton Heston and Jimmy Stewart, two of my favorite actors, so I love seeing them both in the movie together. And then the real great part of the movie is at the end. They're on like a train, the circus traveling on this train, and the train derails, and there's this great derailing scene, and they have to, people are trapped, and animals are free. They have to get the animals back. A lot of great moments there, I think, that are very enjoyable. But overall, yeah, really enjoyable movie. Like a lot of people say this is the worst movie to win Best Picture, which I totally disagree. I think it's actually a really fun movie to watch. Still works for me even today. That is The Greatest Show on Earth. Number 2 on my list. So of course, number 1 is also the movie that I said was number 1, my favorite movie of the 1950s. Also Best Picture winner. That has Ben-Hur from 1959. Big epic William Wyler directed movie starring Charlton Heston, Stephen Boyd, Jack Hawkins, and Hugh Griffith. I talked a lot about this movie already. I love this movie, one of my favorite movies of all time. Ben-Hur, wrongly accused of, having to go through slavery and rise up and come back to Judea and get revenge on his former friend who turned him in, or who kind of arrested him for falsely accusing him, and then coming back, and then we got the great horse race scene, of course, one of the greatest scenes of all time. Still a fun scene to watch, that big horse race, chariot race scene in Rome, in Judea, or whatever. And then I love, what makes it over the top for me is the whole part about we see Jesus also throughout the story, and Jesus helps him along the way. And then we see Jesus getting crucified and him not understanding why this man is getting crucified, who doesn't deserve it. and he learns, to be forgiving and to let go of the hate that he has for the Roman Empire and all that, because of Jesus Christ's sacrifice. And so that gets me very emotional watching the movie and seeing the whole Jesus crucifixion scene. I really love, I thought done so well. And the ending is so emotional. Such a great, one of the best endings ever, I think. Makes you very happy at the end. Anyways, really long movie, but I think very well worth it for all the great scenes and performances. Anyway, so I can't say enough. I love Ben-Hur. I think don't be afraid of the length of the movie. It's an older movie. It's still, I think, a worthwhile movie to watch. Anyways, I think Ben-Hur at number one for me. So that's my ranking of the 10 movies winning Best Picture of the 1950s. So feel free to comment what your favorite movies of those are, which ones you like more or less than me. I'd love to see the comments, anybody's opinion on that. And just thank you for watching the video, for liking it, and just thank you to all the subscribers for supporting the channel. I really appreciate you, and have a good day.